Hello everyone, it's me, MickRPG, and today I'll be going over something I've wanted to talk about for quite a while now, and that is my own Homebrew Space Marine chapter. It's very obvious what it's based off of. So let's just get into it, I'll stop fucking about. So they were founded in the 39th millennium, if I recall correctly. Yeah, the 39th millennium. On a planet called Caledonia. I don't. I've not. Well, I have written a story for how they got founded, but I'm kind of like 50-50 on rewriting it entirely, so I'm not just going to say it, but they were founded on a planet called Caledonia. No shocker. Guess where they're from. So obviously it's based heavily on Gaelic, Scottish culture. They are successors of the Imperial Fists, so Dorn is their Gene Father, and they are the Space Thistles from Caledonia. I'll put it up on screen now, I'll put up the data sheet right now, but they wear green ceramite with purple pauldrons and blue trim. Every single one has this, including the saltire on the right knee plate. Well, when you look at them it's their left, but to them it's their right knee plate. They wear a saltire. Because on Caledonia that's not a flag but a symbol of a warrior. So a lot of flags do have that. That's those symbols on them, but that's not the that's not their flag, because it's like they're all minor noble lords and stuff. So they have their own clan flags and tartans actually. Space Thistles, as you can see on the screen here. They wear tartans to signify what company they're from, except for Primaris, but I'll get into that later. They identify their squad number by the number on the right pauldron. If they have a battle line, assault, close support, or veteran marking, the number will be in there to signify a squad. Sergeants have purple faceplates. Veterans just have an entirely purple helmet. Veteran sergeants will wear a purple helmet with a white stripe, and lieutenants will wear a blue helmet. And obviously, you can kind of guess the progression there. A captain would wear a blue helmet with a white stripe in it. The official the official motto for the Space Thistles is "Not with impunity," which stems from the Scottish national motto in Latin, which translates to "will not be provoked with impunity," something along those lines. I can't actually remember the direct translation, but that's roughly what it is. So I translated it just to English, and it is "not with impunity." That's their response to everything. You can do anything, just not with impunity. And the symbol is a white circle with a black border, with a thistle and laurels. I thought it was a quite good imperial twist on a sort of traditional looking thistle, and it's sort of reimagined as well. I think it looks good, and that's what Thistles, I'm going to say it on Caledonia, look like, because it's my planet, I get to decide. So I suppose the next things to talk about would probably be like the iconography or the symbolism, culture and stuff like that. So I suppose you can guess as to why the chapter's colours are that. The green and the purple, it's because that's what a thistle looks like. And I like those colours, and I think they really fit. And oftentimes, they'll wear kilts or tartan. They'll either wear like flies or kilts or both, or sometimes they might wear like a half kilt or a fucking half cape if they want to. Normally, a lot of them will show their cultural pride, and that their first language tends not to be High Gothic. It tends to be Caledonian, which is basically just Gaelic, which I find interesting. I myself don't speak Gaelic though, so I feel like maybe I should do that if my chapter's going to be their first language is Gaelic. That'd be cool, but obviously, you know, as a integral part of the Imperium, being an Astartes chapter, they do all speak Gothic. And so, you know, a lot of their culture stems from Scottish culture. Like, I've written down in some lore parts, you know, they have a thing called the dram, which is basically like an alcohol mix that they drink themselves. But it's not like the Space Wolves where they gorge on it. It's something that they have with like their evening meal. It's permitted because, you know, one tankard of the dram isn't going to inebriate a Space Marine. I mean, it's like fucking... For a Space Marine to get absolutely fucking shit-faced, it has to be like a mix of fucking potent jet fuel and used oil that's been around since old Terra. So, you know, it doesn't... it's a sign of cultural significance. It makes the men feel closer to home and more one with their chapter. So, it's called a dram because a dram of whiskey, you know. You can piece it together. So they have that. Inside their chapter, their non-war goals, I would say, is to push the limits of the Astartes body. They work out quite a lot. They push themselves to the limits. They have an entire thing in the Fortress Monastery called the Iron Sanctuary. Where it's just a massive gym facility. I think the biggest gym you know, it's way bigger than that. It could house all 1,000 Marines in there and still have place for it would still have more than enough equipment that you would need. So it's absolutely fucking huge in there. And then on the walls it's lined with relics and murals of battles and stuff like that to, in between sets you can look up and you know, remember where you're from. They're big on their culture and they're trying to live up to their forebears. So they do that. I would say the chapter tartan is the Spirit of Bannockburn tartan used by the First Company, as it's the most veteran company, obviously. All veterans wear the Spirit of Bannockburn tartan, and that is probably the one that I think fits the Space Thistles best, because it's basically all the colours. It's green, blue and purple. It is amazing. It annoyed me because when I was first making them, I chose the Flower of Scotland tartan until I found that, and then I changed it immediately. So the Flower of Scotland tartan is the Second Company's tartan. Stewart of Butte Muted is the Third Company's. Monroe Modern is the fourth. I think it was Mackenzie Modern I picked for the Fifth Company. Black Watch is for the Seventh Company. I can't remember what I put for the sixth. I think it was McGregor. I'll need to look it up again. Seventh Company's Black Watch. Eighth Company is MacLeod of Lewis, so the yellow tartan. And the Ninth Company, I can't remember what the Ninth Company gets, but the 10th Company doesn't get one. Same way that they wouldn't get a trim on their armour if they were with anyone else, because they haven't earned it yet. So once they move into another company, they're no longer a scout. They've now earned the right to wear the company tartan. And they'll wear other embellishments. They'll wear capes. They'll wear like red sashes and stuff like that. You know, sometimes loincloth or something. You know, it doesn't always have to be tartan, but that's majority of the time that it is. So that's that, and they adorn the thistle upon their left pauldron and stuff. Unless they're in Terminator armour, then obviously it's on their right. Or on the Death Watch, then it's on their right as well. And so, now that we've talked about iconography and culture, I suppose, it's time to talk about more lore aspects, I guess. So we've went over what they look like now, and so I think I'm going to introduce the character that I've actually written lore for. I've got other characters like written down, but none of them actually have lore like I've written lore for my chapter master. Oh, actually, before we do that, let's talk about the different ranks, because some ranks have changed. All of them are still mostly the same, except for a couple. So, like, you know how Space Wolves will have Rune Priests and the Iron Hands, they are chaplains, double as Tech Priests and stuff like that. So, in this chapter, obviously it's based off ancient Celt, Gaelic, Scots culture. So, The chapter master is known as the High Chief. Captains are known as chiefs. And chaplains are druids. And they also double as apothecaries. They don't have all the equipment necessary to be an apothecary, but they do have specialised training. So they're equipped for gene seed recovery. They can treat your wounds in the battlefield like a combat medic. But any like serious injuries or like Rubicon surgery, you have to go see one of the chapter's apothecaries for that, because he won't be able to do it for you. But he will read your imperial faithful rights and stuff and everything like that before you go and do it. Chaplains also are the ones to record your death most of the time. If you've died, or your brothers know your time of death and stuff like that, it'll be reported to your chaplain, and he's the one that reports it, because he also doubles as the company or chapter's apothecary. And they've actually got a good supply of chaplains, but they lack apothecaries. So it's mainly druids and tech priests that my chapter has, and they lack apothecaries, and they prefer more quicker or old-fashioned ways of stopping injuries and stuff like that. But they won't be silly. If something really needs done, they'll go see the apothecary. That's what he's there for. So by no means are apothecaries shunned. There's just less of them in my chapter. So now that we've talked about ranks, I'd like to introduce my chapter master, High Chief Callum McAlpine. I'll put him up on the screen right now so you can see him. This lovely art done by Miosotis. If you want to go and commission anything off of her, the art is amazing. Really attentive to what you need. If you want to change things, you're able to do that. I won't speak on her behalf. Just take a look at this amazing art. I love everything about it. He wears Terminator armor. He's got this double-sided chain axe, because fuck you, I can do this. The chain axe is actually called Bruni, because it's named after an old Scottish house fairy spirit thing. They're like wee household goblins, and they help you with household chores while you're asleep. You can like leave bowls of cream out in that for them. And other stuff. But if they feel like they're being taken advantage of, they'll go away or become mischievous. And so I thought, what better a name for a Space Marine's household tool than Bruni, if that's how it's going to be. He claimed it off of a Chaos Lord a few centuries before, before current era, and had it refit for his purpose. So he's using a heretic's weapon against them, basically. He's kind of very stoic. He's not one for showing much. You can't really get a laugh at him like most Space Thistles. You can tell he's a son of Dorn. He's quite to the point, but he's a master strategist, stubborn as stone, will not move for anyone, and he knows his chapter's capabilities very, very well. He's one of the strongest Marines, maybe ever. I'm not going to say ever. I've not made him the strongest, absolutely, but he's definitely up. I've written lore about him in the Iron Sanctuary, actually, where he's lifting like 60 tons on his own without his armor. And I just think, every homebrew chapter has that guy. My High Chief Callum McAlpine is that guy. He is him. He is John Space Thistle. That is his purpose. As you can see, he's got grey hair. He's quite old, but no one knows how old he is. There's no record of his age, and he won't tell you. He just says old enough, which I found funny. And I'm not going to make an age for him. He's just old. I think he's served for 400 years as High Chief. Yeah, he's served for about 500 years actually, because he's been in that position since 541. So he has been in that position for 500 years. So I'm not saying he's anywhere near Dante where he's 1,000 years old, but You know, he's still very old for a Space Marine, but he's still strong as shit. Probably due to the Space Thistle culture of training and working out constantly. They have gyms on their fucking ships. On their flagships, they've got museums and gyms. Sometimes they've got gym parts in their museums because, you know, great feats have been accomplished in the Iron Sanctuary or something. It's ingrained in their culture to train harder, to be better than any other Astartes, to be the absolute pinnacle of the Space Marine form. Because to them, they've been given gene seed, so why not use all of it, you know? I've not come up with a name for their fortress monastery and much lore, other than the Iron Sanctuary and a thing that I like to call the Cryanorum, which is basically a massive underground facility where they freeze Space Marines in cryogenic stasis. Young and old, veterans and new recruits, they will put anyone in there. It's mainly volunteers, but sometimes they do just assign people to be put there. And the reason I've did this is because I've thought about it before, and if they got into a large-scale conflict, they only recruit from one planet. They only take stock from one place, and that's Caledonia itself. And obviously, as you know, Space Marine trials, not everyone survives. You know, out of 10, maybe 1 or 2, 3 at the most will actually make it to be full-on Astartes. So, I thought to myself, you know, I only want them to recruit from this one planet. So, they have, I've not actually come up with a number for it yet, but they have a number of Marines under the Fortress Monastery in stasis, ready to be awoken to fight. And they will pull them if they need heavy reinforcements, or they're going on crusade, because then you can have as many Space Marines as required if you're on crusade. Or, in case of an attack on the planet or Fortress Monastery itself, they'll just say fuck it and unload everyone, because Codex be damned at that point. Speaking of which, they are Codex compliant to an extent. They listen to some of it more than others. Like, they don't go above the roughly 1,000 Marine threshold. They have some, like, you know, they'll have 1,000 Marines, and then, like, the chaplain's got his own bodyguards called the chaplain, the High Chief has his own squad or command squad of bodyguards called the Skiltron, which, if you don't know, a Skiltron is a spike-based shield wall kind of trap that the Scots used in medieval times. So I thought, you know, that's cool as shit. That's the name for his command squadron, or his elite bodyguards, is the Skiltron. So obviously, you know, it's not bang on 1,000 Marines. It's probably a bit over, but not enough to trigger the Inquisition or anybody else. But they also don't say that you can't. It says you can only have 1,000 Marines. It doesn't say anything about human combat serfs. So in some cases, they will actually deploy with trained combat serfs. I've even came up with the lore idea that standard bearers for the Space Thistles have Astartes-sized bagpipes that are way louder than regular bagpipes. But when they deploy with humans, or regular, like, unmutated humans, regular guardsmen or combat serfs, there's a special group of basically nutters from Caledonia who deploy on these battlefields with them, and all they do is play bagpipes. They're pipers. They're absolutely mental. They don't care about getting shot at. They don't care about getting killed. They just play the bagpipes to raise morale and to try and scare the enemy. Because, you know, all this noise is even more noise than before. They do it for pure intimidation if they can. And, you know, they do come in with las pistols, sometimes swords and stuff, but they only fight if you get right in their face, and chances are, if they've deployed with Space Thistles, you're not getting in their face. So they're not a guardsman regiment, although making my own custom guardsman regiment might be on the table soon. They're not a custom guardsman regiment. They are just a bunch of human nutters that deploy with them and play bagpipes alongside the Space Marine standard bearer, who will play bagpipes to intimidate the enemy. They prefer sort of defensive ambush tactics. They'll draw you into somewhere and then jump on your head when they find you. Basically, the way that I like to get them to fight is ideally their combat doctrine is like what the Scots invented, guerrilla warfare. We would jump at you from the woods, beat the fuck out of you, and then when you finally got some sort of cohesion, we're back in the woods, you can't find us. And so I thought, you know, they're a Scottish-based chapter, might as well do something with that. So what they prefer to do is set up a position. They'll send out a squad or two to go and agitate the enemy, you know, shoot at them, shout at them, call their mum fat, say that their bird stares at orange juice because it says concentrate, and then they'll run back after they've made the enemy aggressive, run back into a position, and then, you know, it's just gunfire, chainswords, power axes. They'll just fucking go for everyone at that point. Anyone who's not wearing green ceramite with purple pauldrons is getting fucking killed. And they'll jump on their head, and if the enemy still has people left and they finally got themselves together, they're back in the woods. You won't find them. I'm not saying that they're mainly stealth, I'm just saying that they like to jump on people's heads. They're not a very stealthy chapter, they can be quite loud. And that's how I get them to fight. And for the last thing that I can at least think of to talk about would be the relations with other chapters. So with their progenitor, the Imperial Fists, not progenitor, their predecessor, their gene line, the Imperial Fists, they have a good relationship with them. I don't think they're best buds. They get along. They can fight alongside each other. You know, they can talk to each other. They're not exactly they don't hate each other, but they're not like, you know, how tight them and the Crimson Fists would be. So they're good buddies, and they can fight together at any time. And they can be called for the last war protocol and everything like that, and they will answer. But they're just not like best friends with them, if you know what I mean. So I suppose maybe I could go down the rest of the legions, or the old legions, or any chapters I can think of that would make sense. They have a liking for Ultramarines, but it's probably less than the Imperial Fists. They think that their tactics are sound, but they think that they rely too much on the Codex. They rely too much on the Codex and heavily base everything they do off this book. Which, whether that's uneducated or not, that's what they think. So they're less likely to trust an Ultramarine in a split-second decision. I'd say their biggest enemy. I don't know who to make their biggest enemy. This is something I've went over about plenty of times in my head. I can't really decide whether I want them to really hate a heretic faction more, or if I want them to hate a Xenos faction more, or who I want them to fight. You know, I think they should have a main rival, but I don't know who for it to be. It's been suggested that I actually make up my own heretic warband for them to be rivals with, and that might be a good idea. I don't know. Maybe leave a comment and tell me what you think. But that's all I can really think of. When I write lore, I'll probably update it on this channel. If you liked, leave a comment, tell me what you think. If you've got any suggestions, I'm more than happy to read through that. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.